Welcome back to another exciting episode of the podcast. Today we are with Jason Cavalier. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you? Hello, everyone.
Doing good. Enjoying the weather.
Yeah, same here. It's gotten nice in the last couple of days. I'm looking forward to getting outside and doing some activities.
Yes,
It's
definitely.
been a while. It was a long, cold winter up here.
Oh, really? Where are you from?
Where are you? Where are you from? Sorry, I was going to ask you the same question.
Oh, you're good. I'm in Roanoke, Virginia.
Roanoke?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow. I was down in West Virginia about a couple of years ago. I'm in Montreal, just south of Montreal, actually, right now.
Oh, very
Just
cool.
Montreal, Quebec, in Canada. Yeah, up north a bit. And yeah, we had a long, interesting winter. Quebec, man, we were like some of the worst restrictions going around for COVID. So locked in, curfew. It was another world here for a while.
Oh, I can
Pretty
only
interesting.
imagine. So, tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, I'm an actor and a stuntman, also a stunt coordinator, and I've been doing this since 1988.
Oh, wow.
I pretty much started working as soon as I got out of theater school. I went to university, studied film production, and I switched over halfway because I got a little discouraged. I mean, the kind of movies they were making in film school were all, not that I have any problem with it, but they were all, all about like sort of expressing your inner creativity and being really artsy, but they weren't the kind of thing that, I thought was going to make money when I got out of school. So I saw the direction was a little bit different. And I switched over into acting about halfway through the program and completed a professional acting course at Concordia University in Montreal. And as soon as I got out, I pretty much started working right away. I starred in a whoops. Oh, your video's gone. Oh, okay, I guess I can still talk.
Yeah.
Started on a soap opera for about a year, and then that work was very intensive. So it was sort of like a low budget soap opera for teenagers, and we were kind of the prototype for 90210. In fact, our producer sold our show to Aaron Spelling. He bought the rights to the show in the U.S., but he never intended to broadcast it. He just wanted the concept. So essentially what he did was he took the concept and made 90210 with it. And that's how that got started. Our show went on to broadcast all over the world, but it was dubbed into a whole bunch of different languages. At the time, it was called Time of Your Life, and in other countries, I have no idea what it was called. And then after that finished, I went and took a vacation in Florida where my dad was working for about a year and just kind of chilled out because the work was kind of intensive. And then came back to Montreal and started working on a lot of low-budget television and low-budget action movies in Montreal. And as I started to work on more productions, I started to get to know the stunt guys. And stunt work was something I was always interested in because I was always kind of physical. And they started bringing me out to train with them on the weekends, doing various stunt-related activities like rappelling or jumping from buildings into airbags or practicing fire burns or fights and that kind of stuff. And as low-budget movies were starting to roll into Montreal, they often had like some scumbag character that would mouth off and face off with the lead hero, whether it was David Soul or Jean-Claude Van Damme or whoever. And I invariably ended up getting cast in those things, and that's how that started. And that led to more stunt work, and eventually I started coordinating things. It's pretty much how it got started.
Very cool.
And, if you've looked at my resume on IMDb, you can see I've worked on a lot of big blockbusters over the years, almost everything shot in Montreal. Occasionally I got a chance to go out and work a little bit outside. Went to Malta for about a month to work on a TV movie. That was a lot of fun. And last year, while I was in Toronto quite a bit working on Reacher, so that was cool. You can see me in the prison fight, and I think it's the first episode. Yeah, that's pretty much how that got started.
That's very cool. So, yeah, my buddy and I actually looked up your IMDb, and it's pretty vast. Do you have any top 5 productions you've been on?
Well, I've been doing it for a while. So. Yeah, top 5. Without pulling up the IMDb myself, I've got a few. 300 would have to be definitely one of them because it was a kind of a game changer in terms of understanding what was needed to the level of conditioning and the level of training that was needed to perform fights nowadays. At the time when those guys came into town, I was still sort of battling the idea that, martial arts was a fad. There were a lot of stuntmen here. I mean, it being Montreal at the time that were just saying, martial arts, it's a fad. It's never going to catch on. And as it ended up, it only went even more in, say, a more complicated direction. Because when I first started doing fights here in Montreal, everything was still kind of like the old John Wayne, kind of like throw a punch, the guy blocks it, and the guy punches back. And the pace and the rhythm of everything was, slow, like the movies from back then. And I was trying to do something a little bit more complex and a lot more fun, but not a lot of the stunt guys locally at the time, this would have been in the, late 80s, early 90s around here, were well-versed in martial arts. They were very good at all the other stuff, cars, high falls, fire burns, the all-around stuntman stuff, which is also important. But the fight stuff was something I really wanted to get into because I was a big fan of Jackie Chan at the time, and I was going to see a lot of Chinese movies in Chinatown, and I thought this is going to be something that I think that is going to catch on. And eventually we started to see it in a lot of North American movies. You started to see it slowly be introduced in The Matrix and everything else that started to really, really catch on. Much more complex choreography. So when 300 came to town, it was all the guys from 8711. They had just come off The Matrix and they had just come off the other films that they were doing. And I was one of the few guys that could catch on to their choreography. So they had picked, I think, 5 of us from Montreal out of, like, at the time there might have been 50 to 80 stunt people, but none of them could perform the moves or even remember them. And they didn't have the kind of reactions that these guys were looking for because, they wanted to see how well you could wipe out. The standard for martial art movies of the time, like, if let's say you got kicked underside the chin, you had to be able to kind of backflip and land on your stomach and, do these like twisting break falls and all kinds of, intricate, complex wipeouts. And none of the guys had ever trained that, there were a few of us that could do it, and that was it. So we got on to the main fight team for about 1.5 years. And these guys really wanted to test us. So they put us through a really grueling training program, I think with the idea of burning us out so bad that we would want to quit. Because I think that they didn't think there was enough talent in Canada that they could fill up the roster. So they really wanted to bring more guys from the States. But, and let me tell you, after 2 or 3 weeks, the training with these guys, I did want to quit. I'm like, if this is going to be like this for the whole year, I don't know if I can hold up. But after about 3 weeks, they started to relax a little bit and they saw who was who and what was what and who could do what. And we ended up staying. So that was like I said, that was a big game changer for me. I also think it was a big eye opener for a lot of the guys in Montreal. There now in Montreal, there's, oh my God, plenty. I mean, everybody can fight. Everybody can fight. Everybody can flip. And we're kind of having the opposite problem. We're kind of trying to find the guys that can go back and do the old school stunts. Get hit by cars, get set on fire, that kind of stuff. And we're not finding it. So it's weird. It's come full circle in a different way.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And you're right. When The Matrix and all that stuff came out, that kind of helped revolutionize a lot of the fight scenes that we were seeing. It changed quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. Everything after that was bullet time. You saw bullet time in every movie for 5 years after that. And I mean, now not everything is necessarily martial arts, in the sense of, spinning kicks and this and that, but it does have a faster pace, and you have to be able to launch multiple techniques and react to all of them, like you would if it were a martial arts fight. Like, I think an example I can think of that I really liked was, I don't know if you saw Extraction with Chris Hemsworth.
No, but I've
Netflix,
seen clips.
It was directed by, he was the double for Captain. Yeah, okay. Well, if you look at that, it's like more military hand-to-hand combat fighting, but the pace at which they execute the moves really reminds you of, old school martial arts films. They just don't stop, or like any of the recent Marvel movies. Same kind of thing. It's not like it used to be, and rightly so. Everything evolves.
Exactly.
Everything changes.
And
nothing wrong with that. That's one. You asked me for 5. I don't know if I can give you 5. That's definitely one. That was a big one, but let's see. Hard to say. I've got different ones for different reasons, but in terms of memorability or really game changer, 300 had to be the one. I suppose I could name Immortals because that was the first time that we got, as a Montreal fight stunt team, we got to be the ones that created all the action. It wasn't a team from outside. It was us, homegrown. We were hired to do everything from the beginning to end. Train the actors, come up with the choreography, do the previs, everything. So that would be another one. Yeah, that's kind of hard. You want to stick just to
it can be either or.
Want to talk about acting too. Yeah, okay. I'd probably say acting-wise, one of the funner things I did recently was a film called Crisis, and I got to act opposite Evangeline Lilly, and I really prepped I had a very small scene with her, but I wanted it to be good, so I kind of worked on it for like about a month. I might have had maybe 20 lines total, but it was a very nice experience because I had a particular thought in mind that I wanted to get across. And the film is basically about drug traffickers, and her son has been killed and died of an overdose, and she knows that her son doesn't consume drugs, so she investigates the reason for his death, and eventually comes face to face with the traffickers who are in Canada. So she crosses the border and meets my character and decides to buy an illegal weapon and get some information on the people that she's tracking. And I was originally just credited as a private investigator, but I know things here are different than they are in the States in terms a private investigator would never sell you an unregistered weapon just like that. So I had to create a reason why this guy would do it. And in my head, I said, this guy is probably a gambling addict. He needs money, and he's probably a really shady private investigator, and he might just as soon turn around and sell her out to the bad guys. So when I told her this, she was on board with the interpretation and stuck up for me in terms of how it was to be played. And that's kind of rare. So that one sticks out because sometimes leading actors don't really care. They just want you to say your lines, do your thing. They'll do their thing, and we leave it like that. We don't get too involved. But she was amenable enough that, she let me portray it the way I wanted to. I just wanted to make him a little bit sketchy, like he had something going on in the back of his head the whole time, and she thought it was interesting, and she helped me fight for that idea. So I thought that was kind of cool. Oh, okay. Here's one. There's a really low budget film called Crosswinds, starring David Soul. If you remember, or you probably watch American television, you know him from Starsky and Hutch. He's the blonde guy. So there was a stunt I had to do in this film, he's firing at me and another guy. And he runs out of bullets, and he happens to be carrying an M203 grenade launcher underneath his M16. His magazine goes dry, and he's just got one explosive shell left, so he uses it, fires it at us, and explodes us out the window. And what we did, it's a kind of old school way to do it. We used an air ram, which is a pneumatic platform that you step on it, and it launches you, however many feet through the air, depending on how much air pressure you put in it. And we were shooting in Montreal in what's called a heritage house. And this is like where it's a historical building, and you're not allowed to alter the building or change it in any way. They allowed us to film there, but you can't do anything that might cause damage to it because it's historical. So the window that I was going to get blown out of was surrounded by these thick beams to kind of hold up the structure. They were about a foot thick. And the air ram, when you go off of it, it kind of lifts you in the air a little bit, like at a certain height before you start to travel forward. And when I looked at where the beam at the top edge of the window was, I'm like, my head is going to go right through that beam. I'll break my neck. If I had if I had launched myself the way I usually do when I practice off the air ram. So I expressed this to the coordinator, and he's like, no, you'll be fine, whatever. I said, yeah, but I think I should still kind of practice it anyway, because I know I'm going to have to change how I launch off of it. So, the stunt was a couple of days away, and what I did was I went outside, and I took some gobo stands, which are the things that they put flags on to block off the light, to give you light beams and light rays, whenever they like to set. And so I put the gobo stands at the approximate, not the approximate, with the exact width of the window, because I measured it. And I measured the dimensions in tape. So I created a facsimile of the window dimensions using tape. And I put the air ram where it would be, roughly about, where it was relative to the window inside the house. And on the lawn, I practiced. And sure enough, first time I went through, my head went right through the top edge of the tape, which is where the beam was. So I would have broken my neck. So I spent all afternoon kind of ducking my head and changing my angle until I found a way to launch off the air ram where, at worst, if I got clipped, it would be like my boot might clip the window, and at worst, maybe I'd break my heel or break an ankle or something, but I wouldn't break my neck, which is the worst thing. So, because a few times I'd go through clean, a few other times I'd go through and my foot would clip the tape. So I'm like, okay, I'm happy with that. I can live with my foot being a little bit messed up if that's what happens. I'm not saying it would, but you never know. Anything but my head. So we get set, and actually the window is a double window, and I've got another stunt guy next to me, and he was actually more of an actor, but he was physical. And his job, he was going to go through the window as well, but he wasn't going off a platform or a mini tramp or anything like that. He was just going to go through on his own steam, and when he gets to the window, turn his back and fall onto the mats that were outside waiting for us. But the coordinator told him, wait for Jason, because I had the harder action to do. And there was all kinds of pyrotechnics set up around the window so that as we go through the glass, they were going to set off the pyro to look like an explosion that we're coming through. The other thing is we use tempered glass. I don't know if you know that, but it's like windshield glass. It shatters into small pieces, not big jagged ones. So you have one FX technician on the glass who, a split second before you go through it, he shatters it. And then you have the pyro technician who's going to set that off at approximately the same time. So here we are. We're getting ready to go. Director calls 3, 2, 1, action. And the guy doesn't wait. He runs right away, which means I'm a split second behind him. And all this goes through my head like, do I wait? Do I stall? Like, if I do that, they're going to have to reset the whole window, everything, all again. And the shot will be fucked, because of me. And all this goes through your mind, and like literally a split second, I just said, fuck it. I started going. But I'm a split second behind the other stuntman. So he hits the window just a beat before me, and whoever, the effects guy, they have to set off the pyro. They set it off just as I'm stepping on the platform, which means I'm closing my eyes. The explosion goes off in my face. I can't see anything I'm doing. I closed my eyes and just prayed that my body would do what it did the day before. Like I would launch off the platform the day before, but I wasn't counting on going blind, So I closed my eyes and just I prayed, fucking whoosh, went through the window, came out the other side. I was fine. It was all good. But, that was probably the stunt, like, to this day that I think about. And I go, yeah, I could have got really, really messed up. But, everything worked out. That's probably the sketchiest thing I've done on set. Yeah.
It's hard to believe that.
Sometimes you never know.
It's hard to believe, of course, if you don't do what you do, that just that millisecond difference can change a lot of stuff and possibly hurt somebody.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I ended up coming out through the fire and through the smoke, whereas it was supposed to be behind me as we were coming out the window, but it's not how it worked out. And it was all because the other guy just went when he wasn't supposed to go. But that's, sometimes stuff happens. You never know. I've been fortunate so far. I'm like 60 now, and I've gone through enough stuff, and still come out the other side.
You're a stunt coordinator. What have you coordinated stunts on? Any shows or movies or anything like that?
Yeah, I've done a few things now. I was a fight coordinator on Pompeii, the movie with Kit Harington. It was directed by Paul Anderson, the guy that did all the Resident Evil movies. So I choreographed a fair bit of the fights on that. I had help, of course. I had a team, and but I came up with a lot of the stuff. I was the coordinator during the arena sequences when all the gladiators were fighting with Kit's character. What else? God, some of the stuff is stuff that you probably wouldn't have heard of. But I did Pompeii. I worked on Mortal Instruments, not the TV series. Well, I worked on the TV series, but I wasn't coordinator on the TV series. I was fight coordinator on the movie. I did The Quest with Van Damme as a performer, but also did The Fountain with Hugh Jackman as a fight coordinator on that. I did a few things on Blood and Treasure, CBS series. Looking forward to seeing the opening episode of season 2 because I did a nice fall off of the Olympic Stadium in the opening of the episode. I play like some kind of a terrorist, and they eventually catch up with me and shoot me off the top of the Olympic Stadium. And because of COVID, the show was delayed, so we haven't seen season 2.
I'll have to check it out.
I think it's gonna be out in like a week on Paramount Plus or something like that. I did Reacher last year. I've done a bunch of the X-Men. Did a bunch of the X-Men movies. Gotten to fight Hugh Jackman a few times now, so that's pretty cool. I fought with him. I taught him for a movie called The Fountain, and then years later he came back as Wolverine and ended up kicking my ass a few times.
So, with some of the Marvel stuff, I know here recently Marvel acquired all the X-Men stuff back, but what was the type of feel on set for that? Yeah. Yes, sir.
For the Marvel stuff? You mean for X-Men? The feel, well, it's a pretty high budget production. They got a lot of security. They send you a badge you have to wear to make sure that you can get into the studio and that you are who you are. And each year that they came back, that started to get even more. They had more stricter security measures. And then I guess all I can say is once you step on set, you got to kind of know what you're doing because the coordinator is usually someone that's pretty demanding, and he expects like the absolute best from you. And you have no idea sometimes what exactly is being expected. Like we rehearse certain things, but then sometimes they change their mind. They change their mind about what they want, and you need to be able to adapt quickly. You need to have all of your stunt gear with you pretty handy at any time, because they may decide that they want to do something related to wires or whatever. They don't have time for you to wait and go get your gear. You got to have everything right ready with you. And because it's a high profile show, you want to do a good job and you want to be remembered. So
Yeah.
I guess you want to, you need to be on your game. It's like it's the big leagues, right? So you need to have your shit together. Like I said, I've trained most of my life, so I know what I can and what I cannot do. So I usually stick to the things I know I do well, and if they ask me about something that I feel I'm not capable of, I'll say, well, sorry, and I got to be willing to walk away. And if they hire someone else, they hire someone else, but they will remember you for not lying about your abilities. I have never lost a job. I just I've never gotten a job by lying about what I can do. And I've always been really honest. So.
Especially in I would imagine in what you do. Not only being honest is a good virtue to have, but in what you do, I would imagine that, if somebody was like that, they could potentially hurt themselves or somebody else.
I've seen people lie about their skills, and then they show up on set and they can't do what they said they could do, and they get sent home. And it gets remembered because the stunt community, although it's all over the world, it's small. Word gets around, and if you're fired from a set, most people will find out within a week, and they'll know why. So it's really not a good idea. Be straight. If you ever ended up on set and stunt coordinator asks if you can do something, be straight. You can do it. You can do it. If you can't, you're in trouble. And the reason, is not just for your safety, but for everyone else. Because if you say you can slide a car and stop on a dime and you can't, you can kill other people, crew, whatever. That's why
people watching the movies don't realize what the stunt actors go through, and they're how badly they can be hurt, or have some of them have been hurt.
Yeah, or injuries that rack up over time. But yes, I know that there was a stunt girl that was maimed on the movie with Paul Anderson after we did Pompeii. I think they went to South Africa to do another Resident Evil, and she wasn't even doing really technically a stunt. I think she was just driving towards the camera, and the camera was like craning up a little bit. And there seemed like there was an error in the timing, and she slammed right into the camera. She lost her arm. Half her face was pulled off. It's awful, and people forget, it is dangerous. It's why you always have to, check and recheck and double check everything. I'm really careful if I'm coordinating. I'm really stringent. I've had people threaten to fire me because of the safety measures I took, but I don't care. It's like I don't want to end my career knowing that if I didn't do everything crazy. I could, someone got hurt because of it. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. And that kind of thing. It's just it's tragic, and it's just movies, and there's really no reason. It's entertainment, and yes, stunts are dangerous and they're a risk, but you still should take every precaution you possibly can. It's a calculated risk, and that's all it is. You should be working to limit the risk as much as possible.
Do you have anything?
Yeah.
Do you have anything coming up?
I don't know what to say about that. It's really. It's a little quiet, honestly, at the moment. I have potentially, I don't know yet, but I've been contacted for the second season of Jack Reacher, but it's a few months away. So, anything could happen. I don't know. I may go and be part of the team. I've been asked, but, things can change at the last minute. You never know.
Gotcha.
Other than that, there are some things coming up that I can't talk about just yet. I signed an NDA, but it's a popular franchise. It's a horror franchise. So
we'll just have to stay tuned for that one.
And I think I just got hired for it, but I can't really say any more than that. And there may be a few. Yeah, you'll hear about it. You'll see it. Anything else? There is some stuff coming in Montreal, but it's all like dramatic series that are on Canadian television, and that hasn't aired yet, so no one really recognizes it or knows what it is. And that's about it for the moment. I mean, I just came back from Montreal. I got back today. I lent my voice to a video game. I believe it's called Outlander. Not sure. And that was just a last minute call. Voice director that worked with me on the Guardians of the Galaxy game called me and asked if I wanted to fill in for someone. So I went and did a few voices for that, and I did a little bit more coordinating on this other video game that I've been on for like 10 years now. It's called For Honor. It's a sword fighting game. And that's still going. So I do that like maybe once every couple of months. Go work on that game. And for now, that's about it. It's a slower season. It's a slower season this year in Montreal than has been in the last couple of years. It's hard to tell. Sometimes things are up, sometimes things are down. I know Toronto's really busy right
So
now.
I am curious because I did see on, I think, your Instagram about the voice acting.
It's not just yet.
How is that different in just being behind the scenes, lending your voice versus being in front of an actual camera playing the character?
Versus being on. Well, for one, you are playing the character, but for one, it's a lot simpler because you're basically just in a room. And this was a very small mocap room compared to the one that I do for Honor because we were swinging weapons, so I guess we need a bit more room. But it's very small, and the entire room is surrounded by cameras, and basically you're just wearing like a black Velcro suit with these dots that represent your major skeletal points. And there's like 100 cameras, on the ceiling and in every corner of the room so that they can kind of capture you almost in 3 dimensions, like from any angle. And then later when they render the footage, they can, mimic almost any camera angle they want because they have every perspective. That's really, I won't say that's really the only difference. I mean, everything that you're interacting with, I would imagine that this is very similar to like what the later Star Wars were, the Attack of the Clones and the ones where they filmed primarily everything on a green screen. You had Ewan McGregor there in costume, but everything else around him was a green block. So if he was riding in a land speeder or some spacecraft, and he's sitting on a green block, he's got to imagine in his head what all this stuff looks like so he can react appropriately. It was a little bit like that. Except that, in the end, we're rendered as 3D, as 3D characters. And really all you catch of us is our voice. But the filming and the way it was done was very much like a television show or a film in that I had the other actors to interact with. And that helped a lot because the game was very much about family and emotions and healing from trauma. So without other people to interact with, I don't think that it would have been as effective. In addition to the mocap suit, you're wearing a kind of a camera rig on your head. It looks like a bike helmet with a rod that comes out here, and you have almost like a small GoPro that's like about a foot away from your face, and a light, so that the animators, this is recording your face as you're acting, so that the animators have some kind of reference point to match your emotions and your facial expressions to the 3D character that they're going to map it onto later. But other than that, you're just moving around the room and interacting with people, and you have to.
It sounds like that would be
the environment. Fortunately for me, I have a very strong imagination, so it wasn't too much.
Oh, I was going to say, it sounds like that'd be a lot more fun than.
It was actually a lot of fun. It was freeing. I hadn't done that much acting. Yeah, sorry. What?
Then your standard, doing a standard movie, just being behind the scenes and
a lot more fun than what?
Physically acting it out while lending your voice.
Hello? Oh, well, yeah, I mean, it was neat because I could focus purely on the performance. And it was interesting for that. I mean, in some ways, it's very freeing because, you don't have to worry about hair, makeup, or what you look like, whatever. All I had to worry about is what did I sound like. And so when I would rehearse the scenes or the lines prior to going in to perform, I paid a lot of attention to what my voice sounded like and what emphasis I would use on certain words or certain phrases or certain portions of the script. And I really, really just tried to focus on that to give Drax that kind of sound. And then after that, it was just a question of, layering in the emotional beats. And that usually what we do, we draw from experiences in our own life and just try to find something that approximates maybe what the character is going through so that you can put in the right level of emotion into it. And yeah, that was it. But I mean, the only other stress I had was if I had heavy scenes where I knew that the character had to be emotive, I knew that I had to nail it on the day that I showed up because we don't really have a lot of time to get this. Like we would shoot roughly for that game. We were working on it for about 4 years. But we were called in every month for about 5 days. Then we'd get sent away while they worked on the footage and then get called in for another 5 days. And I would know maybe 2 weeks ahead of time what I was doing. So I had 2 weeks to work on.
So I know you're on social media. I know you're on Instagram. Are you on Facebook or any of the other sites?
Yeah, I'm on somewhat social media. I mean, I only kind of recently signed up to Instagram and Twitter and all that just to help promote the game because everyone was saying, you need to be on this, you need to be active and whatever. I mean, Facebook, I'm fine, but the rest of it, I mean, I'm not like the kids nowadays where I can be on that constantly promoting myself or whatever. I find it it's just alien to me. I'm really not very good at it. I don't know. If you want to contact me or you want to reach me, whatever, Facebook's probably the best way because I check that every day. But Instagram or Twitter or whatever, I mean, you're not going to see me posting stuff. Like you're not going to see pictures of my lunch or, pictures of my dog or whatever. I'm
definitely, yeah, and I kind of understand that aspect.
Myself, I don't really, I don't really use those much. But you can find me. I'm easy to find. I think I'm just too old, man. I think it's just a generation, I just am not Mr. Self-promotion. usually if there's something going on in my life or new,
That's
I'll
it.
post it on Facebook, and hey, that'll be it.
Well,
and then you'll see it.
I
once,
appreciate you taking time out of your
that's
busy
it.
schedule
The
to
rest of the
chat with
stuff
me.
is
It's been a
like
lot
catch
of
it
fun. I
as
learned
you can.
a lot about the stunt community for sure and about you.
Yeah. Hey,
Yes, sir.
yeah,
Well, I hope you have a
thank
good
you,
rest of the
Joshua. No
night,
problem,
and
man. Anytime. You got more
I guess
questions? You want
we'll
to know more?
talk at you soon.
Don't be shy. You know where I'm at.
No problem. Thank you. Yes, sir. You too.